Howdy, 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 howdy. I'm chilling here because I wanted to talk about Star Wars. And if you do not know, I've been going through the expanded universe, going through a journey here, discovering new stories, rereading old stories that I've known before, learning new information, being weirded out by some things, being entertained as well. Now, I started this journey with Shadows of the Empire, which I was reminded of. My least favorite part of that was Caesar and Leia, and this story that I'm talking about today. And we're talking about Princess Leia, the courtship of Princess Leia. Now, this takes place a year before Heir to the Empire. Now, you might be wondering, why am I reading this now and not sooner? Because I've done the Thrawn trilogy, which takes place after this book. I've also talked about Dark Empire trilogy, which also takes place after this book. Why am I going back through time? Well, that's what Star Wars is all about. A very nice fella commented suggesting this, and I was like, Dathomir, witches, we're reading it. And it's honestly one of my favorite Star Wars books so far in this journey, which I didn't think was going to be a thing, especially in the beginning, because I was like, yo, this is getting too much for me. And then I was still into it. I was still interested. I was like, no way, dude. But anyway, I'll get into the story because that is how you'll understand what I'm talking about if you do not know this story. All right, so it starts off, Han and Leia haven't seen each other in 5 months. He's been hunting down the Iron Fist, which is the flagship of the Imperial Remnant warlord, Zinj. Now, you guys better set tight because this is my notes for that. Look, this is my notes for this book. Just this book. It's all filled, too. All filled. I was into this, and I want to talk about it. So, and he returns to Coruscant in this Mon Cala cruiser that he's commanding. He's really stepped up in the world. He immediately encounters a fleet of Hapans battle cruisers from the Hapans star cluster located in the Inner Rim. And he believes from personal experience and stories that he's heard that they are never friendly, so he fears the worst. And it turns out that months earlier, Leia visited and asked the Hapans Queen for assistance with Zinj. I don't know how to say his name. It's going to kill me because I got to say it so much. I'm going to call him Big Z. From this point forward, Zinj, or however you say his name, is going to be known as Big Z because I'm not going to struggle for an hour saying his name. And anyway, she assumes that that's what this is, why they're there, and they want to negotiate. Now, Han is stressed and realizes that the war with the Imperial remnants may take decades to win. And let's be real, he is right. And now the Hapans request to only speak to Leia, and the grand reception hall is filled with politicians, New Republic personnel, including Han, who is there. And they present gifts to Leia, their greatest treasures from each of the 63 inhabited planets in the Hapans cluster. The Queen is treating Leia as an equal, though famously the Hapans believe that no one is equal to their Queen Mother, which is interesting. It's a hint to later. Now, in this book, the first Hapans speech is not translated for us to understand, and I like that. That's exactly how world building in Star Wars should work, because I don't want to immediately understand every single person from every planet. I want us to have a struggle, but this is like abandoned later on. Like, it doesn't come up later in the book. It's just this little part, which is a little bit of a letdown, but it was nice that it was included a little bit here. Now, the final gift is shocking. The Queen Mother presents her son, Prince Isolde, to be Leia's husband. And Han is furious. Mon Mothma hopes she accepts this offer, because that means the New Republic gains help from the Hapans, which she always does. This everything's about politics to Mon Mothma. I don't like Mon Mothma, and I'm going to let that known. She sucks. Meanwhile, Luke is on this snowy world called Hula with a whipped guide, which is a local to the planet. And he's searching for the house of this ancient Jedi Master, and he finds the house, and the body had disappeared like Obi-Wan and Yoda, which makes me wonder, was this how it was meant to be for every Jedi to disappear when they die? Was this like a normal thing before the prequels, or was this guy a special guy that we don't know? Was this guy have backstory or something like that? Because I don't remember if we got a name, but If we did, it would probably be in my notes since I got like a whole book of notes right here. But, you know, it's possible to miss things, especially when you're done with me. But I'm dumb, but I have a mustache. So, you know. Anyway, enough about me, because Luke found this guy's lightsaber, discovered he was a records keeper who escaped during the Purge, and the records were destroyed long before Luke found the place. And R2 ended up retrieving a 400-year-old fragment hollow, which has Yoda in it, so that's pretty cool. Younger Yoda. And he mentions now this is going to be hard, the Chancellor of Dathomir. And Luke is very interested in this. He's like, witches. They're like, these witches are super disturbing. And Luke's like... Anyway, enough with Luke. Let's get to the real plot of the story. Back on Coruscant, Leia asked for 30 days to consider the offer. Isolde asked to speak with her before she departs on her diplomatic mission to the Rachi system, which we'll get to that later. Han storms out, and Leia is silently pressured by the head of the Alderaanian Council, Thorkin Horn. Hate this guy too. Possibly more than Mon Mothma, but he is put in its place. Mon Mothma is not. She should be. And she ends up allowing him to speak to her before she goes on her mission. Leia ends up meeting with Han. They argue. They're both bummed out. Han is bummed out about the endless war, and Leia says she's never fully stopped grieving Alderaan. Now, they mentioned New Alderaan, but it was abandoned because Big Z discovered it. So now they don't have a planet again. So that's what they're looking for. That's why she's being pressured so much to marry this dude, so she can have a home and her people can have a home. Which, say no. Han's your guy. Let him live on the Falcon. Who cares? I don't know how many of these people there are. There's probably a lot. Probably cannot fit on the Falcon, but I'm sure you could find somewhere. Move to Tatooine or something. It's like nothing there. Build a home. Free real estate. Let's go. Move to Tatooine. You know, there's free real estate. There's a bunch of sand. Just put that moisture evaporator in, you know, build a little shack. You're all good. Stop being, you know, picky. Now, Han expects the Hapans are secretly hiding something. They have patrols to keep people out of their territory, but he suspects it could be also to keep people in. Now, Isolde and Threkin meet Han at the Falcon. He gives them a tour, and then is like, yo, Leia and I are lovers. And Threkin is very, very concerned about this, that he's going to ruin his chances to get a new planet. But Isolde does the threatening. He says to Han that a single Hapan cruiser could just vaporize the Falcon before he could even call for help. Then he tries to bribe Han to leave Leia because he has nothing to offer her. And Han says they love each other and that's enough. How sweet of this guy. Not gonna lie, at this point in the story, I'm way more interested in the Han, Leia, and Isolde love triangle than I am Luke's archaeology quest. Because Leia cannot resist aliens. We saw this in Shadows of the Empire. She just folds immediately. Okay, upon seeing a picture of Isolde, he looks very human. So, my point still stands on this alien thing. Because, I thought this was going to be another Zizor situation, but it appears not to be. It looks very human. So, there goes my whole stance. But I'm going to run with it because I believed it when I was reading this. I'm gonna run with it. We find out some super cool facts about the history of the Hapans. Now, we learn that they're descendants from space Vikings. Epic. They're pirates that abducted beautiful women, and the Jedi ended up wiping out the early males, and the hidden colony of wives swore they'd never be ruled by men again, and they kept that word because it's very much a woman-dominated society. Now, I found this super cool with some inspiration from real-life Vikings into their lore, and it explains why the women rule Hapans, and I just really love that backstory. Back to the story, Isolde kisses Leia. She does nothing to stop it. She's a taken woman. She's cheating now. She's cheating. These hoes are not loyal. Every single alien, yes, I'm still running with that he's an alien. Every single alien she comes across, she cannot help with it. She folds immediately. He's technically an alien. It drives me up a wall how unloyal Leia is. Han truly deserves better than this. Now, Leia calls Luke and admits her tender feelings for Isolde, even though they just met. Luke dodges this drama, talks to her about Dathomir. He's like, yo, there's this planet full of force witches, dude. This is insane. This is great. I love this. And then he ends up giving like solid advice, tells her to focus on the person, not the wealth, something she should already know. But, I just thought it was funny. She's calling Luke, talking about her relationship problems, and Luke's like, yo, witches. So Leia does the only rational thing. She invites Isolde to stay aboard her ship as she goes on her diplomatic mission. And she says two things, one of which is, I'll never see him again. Second of which is, I don't know why people would even begin to think I'd marry the prince. I certainly don't give anyone that impression. You're inviting him on your ship to stay. You're giving everyone that impression. I have that impression, and I am just up the wall right now. What is wrong with you, lady? You're in a relationship. You already kissed him. You considered the offer. You should have just said no. Han needs to find someone else. You find a nice Twi'lek or something. Anyone else. Togruta, any species will do for Han Solo that's better than Princess Leia in this point in the story. Because her eyes are lurking, dude. Lurking. So she tells Han that she needs some time to herself for a few days while she is traveling to the Rochi system with Isolde on her ship. That is diabolical. What? Leia is just not worth it. She's lying. She's a liar. Not worth the time to yourself. You have someone with you. So Han is just crushed. Understandably so. And he takes a loan out on the Falcon and he just goes to gamble it in a game of sabacc. You go, Han. You get that money. He wins 800 million credits. But he doesn't feel like it's enough to get Leia back, which, are you insane, dude? So he gambles another game and he ends up winning a nice, luxurious planet, so he thinks. He wins Dathomir. Quite the luck. That is amazing luck. And Dathomir is described to him very different than in the Clone Wars. It is described as 3 continents in a vast ocean with a wide purple plain and a bluish sun setting over the tropical jungle. Well, he was scammed because Dathomir is located in Big Z's territory, and there's witches on it, which they don't know yet, but they're gonna find out. Leia and Isolde's shuttle is attacked by an assassination attempt, and Isolde uses this personal shield, kind of like the shield that Sabine uses in Star Wars Rebels, and he throws it like Captain America, and he cuts a dude in half with it. And see Captain America doing that. But you saw it in that one movie. I didn't watch it, but I saw the clip. But I won't spoil it. But yeah, I don't know the context. I won't spoil that. But it happened in some Marvel movie. And he and Leia hide, and then they kiss even though she doesn't want to hurt Han. Too late for that. You kiss this guy twice. He's on your ship, traveling with you, and there's much more going to happen. You got tender feelings for the guy. You just met him 5 minutes ago. It's been more than 5 minutes, but you know what I mean. This is getting me riled up. Isolde asks her to go to Hapans. She cries, hugs him, and agrees. I don't know how many times I'm going to say Leia isn't loyal in this story, but she is not. Why would Han even go through the trouble? So she sends Han a holo telling him that she may go to Hapans, and 3PO analyzes it and declares they're having diplomatic problems, which they are. It's not really diplomatic problems, it's hoe problems, because she ain't loyal. Now this part is very funny. I loved it. Han drunkenly tells 3PO that he likes him more than most droids, which is great because in everything else, you're like, this guy hates this droid. And he's very fond of him because he's on his side. Now, Thrankenhorn pressures Leia into considering a 6-month trip to Hapans. Horrible people. This guy and Mon Mothma, horrible people. Stay out of it. It's none of your business. I know these people want a world, but find somewhere else. How many planets are there? You can live somewhere else. Right now, you're on Coruscant. Stay there, dude. Now, Leia realizes she's being measured for a crown here and being, like, groomed up to be the next queen. Sure doesn't make her act right. And now 3PO destroys Threkin, revealing that Han is technically the rightful king of Corellia because he is the descendant of the royal line. Feckin then mocks his criminal lineage until 3PO reveals that he is illegitimate grandson of the same man that is Han Solo's grandpa. And this proves that 3PO is the GOAT. He's got his boys back. Now the New Republic leaders replace Leia on her Rachi mission, claiming that spending time with Isolde is way more important for the New Republic. Can't stand these people. Now Han orders an attack so he can slip into Big Z's territory. He wants to take Leia, but she rejects him. So he pulls out one of the Hapans gifts, the Gun of Command, which is basically a mind control device, forcing Leia to come with him, kidnapping her. Now Isolde vows to hunt him down and find her. I gotta admit, dude, kidnapping her is not the best move. But he's doing what he's got to do, I guess. And Corporal Reason of Big Z's forces notices the New Republic's pattern change and somehow correctly assumes that they must be heading to Dathomir. I don't know how he assumes that correctly. Is this guy Thrawn or something? Give that guy a promotion. Han hides Leia's unconscious body in the smuggling compartments of the Falcon. And when she wakes, Chewie finds out that he kidnapped her and he's furious, probably as he should be. And he asks her if he wants him to just beat him. And now Han begs for 7 days on Dathomir. If she still doesn't love him after these 7 days, he will surrender to the New Republic and take his time in prison for his crime. Now Luke learns that Leia was kidnapped, and he just rushes back to Coruscant, abandoning his mission for the witches. And we'll get right back to that because I'm going back to Han right now. So they reach Dathomir. The Falcon malfunctions when they encounter Big Z's forces, and they take like a devastating crash on the surface. And the Falcon desperately needs repairs. Leia is terrified because she senses the darkness on this planet and does not want to be here. Anyway, back to Luke. While he's on Coruscant, he finds the warlord Omog, which is the Sabacc player who played the game with Han for Dathomir. This guy is surrounded, being beaten by Hapans soldiers. Luke stops them, and the Queen shows up, punishes them, and immediately probes Luke. He feels that she's dangerous, and Luke uses the Force to find out that Omog sold Dathomir to Han, and that it must be where he's going. He does not share this, but the Queen reveals that she already knows because they found out due to Omog's nav system. So Luke joins the Queen for dinner because he wants to read her, and Isolde notices that like there's some weird energy from the Queen towards Luke, like she's interested in him. But the Hapans notoriously hate Jedi, but she lies to him about protecting Jedi during the Empire. It's not true. Not true. She's a dirty liar. Now Han and Leia hide the Falcon under a camouflage net, and the Queen reveals she spread hints of their location to everyone who wants him dead or alive. And Isolde ends up going with Luke to Dathomir. Though Luke warns him about the dark side, he does not believe any of his warnings. Once they get to Dathomir, they're in a dogfight with the Imperial forces. And turns out Luke's starfighter was sabotaged by the Hapans that they gave it to him in the first place. And Luke crash lands using the Force to appear dead, even fooling Isolde. And Isolde follows down. We're going back and forth here. Han, Leia, and Chewie are attacked by an ATST, and they discover massive footprints, which are from Rancors, which are pets of the native witches. They are brought to the Singing Mountain clan for judgment. They basically ran into the nice witches, so they're very fortunate at that. Han is thrown with the male slaves and forced to watch his worm pit. And he ends up catching this Woofa worm, which is very valuable to these witches. Leia vouches for him, saving her life, which her basically being part of this clan now, because she's Force sensitive just like all these witches are, earns his freedom. Now back to Isolde and Luke. Isolde discovers Luke is alive and he's floating in meditation, and Luke tells him they are being hunted by the Nightsisters, which are the Dark Force witches that Yoda and the Hollow were actually talking about in the beginning. Because of their landing, Luke is trying to find R2, and he's very dedicated at this, just like Anakin was in that Clone Wars episode, very attached to R2 because he's like, you know, the best droid ever, other than HK-47. Isolder actually disagrees with how he treats droids and creatures the exact same as he did the Hapan Empire. He says it brings dangerous ideas. And he is actually very interested in the Force, and Luke, while knowing he's not strong in the Force, he sees this as a chance to teach someone the Force without the worry that he'll turn into another Vader. He also urges Isolder to forgive his brother's killer, which he believes he already killed, and to forgive Han, or the dark side will forever rule his destiny. While finding this ancient Jedi ship, which Luke concludes is actually a Jedi Academy, they are captured by 10-year-old Joe, a member of the Singing Mountain clan. Turns out these sisters hunt men, enslave them, and use the Force to make them lustful and make them their husbands. Luke refuses this, then saves her from a night sister, heals her, and she tells Luke that their tradition came from an exiled Jedi named Allah, in hope that she would turn away from the dark side. That's why she was exiled. They refer to the Force as using magic and spells, which is why they're referred to as witches. Now, the leader of the Night Sisters, the Dark Force Witches, is named Gazeron, who once worked with the Imperials sent there to make a prison for political prisoners, so they would just disappear. And once the Imperials saw her power, they destroyed their own ships, leaving their own men stranded there to be enslaved by these Night Sisters. Her goal is to escape and rule other planets without end. And keep in mind, even Palpatine feared these Night Sisters. Luke fears that she plans to turn the Mountain Clan to the dark side, and if she does and gets off world, she will have an army of dark side witches. Now back to Han, he is asked why they came to Dathomir, and he says he owns the world, and he is very mad that these people are trespassing on his land. He brings this up multiple times. He's like, when I get out of here, these people are getting off my land. Now the Singing Mountain Clan mother named Aguine asks what it'll take for Han to sell them the planet deed, and he says a way off world, as much gold as a Rancor could carry, and Leia's hand in marriage. And they take this very seriously and say they can do all but the third one. And Aguine plans to rent the land to settlers, hire off-world teachers to teach them about the stars, and join the New Republic once she owns the planet. Han tries to give them the deed right away, but they refuse and say they have not earned it yet. So he tells them to hold it until they feel like they've earned it. Very noble, very, very good people, all things considered, even though they're enslaving people and forcing them to be their husbands and breed with them. So I take it back. So Han and the rest plan to travel to the Imperial prison to scavenge for parts to repair the Falcon. And later that night, 3PO actually sings Leia a song he wrote for her titled The Virtues of King Han Solo. 3PO is wingman material. I definitely would want him on my side. He's the best. This is the best 3PO has ever been in this story. This is incredible. I love this. Luke, Tenniel, and Isolder travel to the village. They meet Aguine, and Tenniel claims Isolder as her husband. She does this to save him from being claimed by the other sisters, but the others don't know that. Leia comes out, and she is very upset by this, and tells Luke to stop them. Luke does not care at all. He just says, you handle it. Luke is amazing in this. He doesn't care about the phone call. He doesn't care about this guy being claimed by this woman. And he's like, it gets her off my back because she is in love with Luke at this point in the story. She just wants to marry Luke, but Luke is not interested. He's not interested in that. He's like, I don't even know you, lady. So Luke cannot be claimed as a husband or like owned by one of these women, because he is a Jedi and he saved Tenniel's life. So, like, once you save one of these sisters, like Han was vouched for saving Leia's life, Tenniel vouched for Luke saving her life. So once you save one of these sisters, you are no longer able to be claimed by the other clan sisters here. Leia tries saying that Isolder saved her, and then the other sister's like, how many people have saved you? She's like, it happens more than you think. The sisters use rancors to tow the Falcon to the mountain and hide it inside the mountain so it can get repairs. Isolde meets Han in the Falcon, tells him that his fighter is working, but we're only fit 2 people, though it only holds 1. This is a test. Han passes this test by urging Isolde to take Leia and get her off this hell planet, which really shows Han's character. He's not selfish, he just wants what's best. Luke meets an elder named Mother Real, and she is nearly 300 years old. She can see the future, but can also get lost into the past, so she gets confused quite easily. She recognized Luke, says things like, he started the Jedi Academy all those years ago. She asks about his wife and children, how they're doing, and she's also confused to see Isolde since she recalls Gazeron killing him. So naturally this freaks Isolde out because he's like, I'm going to die. She saw the future. And Luke assures him that what she saw is only one possibility and that nothing is written. Now they saddle up on these rancors and there's some disagreements about who's riding with who. Luke wants to ride with Leia. Han says no way. Tells him to ride with Tenniel since she has the hots for him. Luke is shy at this because, Tenniel does have the hots for him. And Han says if he doesn't do it, he will. Leia gets upset, calls him juvenile for trying to make her jealous. Han says she's welcome to ride with Isolde, and if he rides with Tenniel on the rebound, why would she care? And she says she doesn't want him using any other women that way. As this is happening, Luke is already climbing up on Tenniel's rancor, so he's, once again, wants nothing to do with this. He's out. He's like, all right, whatever. And as he's looking at this, Isolde sneaks up on Leia's rancor, leaving Han to have to ride with Chewie and the droids, which I thought this was just a very funny part of this book. This is great for world building. It has great character moments. I love it. And during this ride, Leia notices that Tenniel has touched Luke's emotions, and he'd seldom feel this way about women before. Now, I find that hard to believe, because this guy Luke is constantly falling in love with some girl in these stories. In Truce of Bakura, he's falling hard for that senator girl, and he's upset because she didn't want to date him or whatever. And in Dark Empire, he immediately falls in love with Jem, even though she dies. And it's I'm sure there's way more out there. The only other time I have not seen this guy immediately fall in love with someone is Mara Jade. And we know what's coming there. So no one really knows where this prison is. So they are told to go and meet up at this former Night Sister's home because she is exiled until she can cleanse herself and join back with the Singing Mountain clan. Her name is Bakura. She is not home, and so they just set up camp there, and they debate whose lifestyle is more barbaric, the Hapans or the sisters on Dathomir, which they are very similar since women rule on both. But Isolde claims since he gets to choose the next Queen Mother, he has all the power, which Tenniel laughs at him thinking he has power. Leia realizes she meets all of these qualifications and questions if he really loves her or because she meets the standards. The former Night Sister, Baruka, arrives. She is not sane at all. She is totally insane. She's still haunted by the voice of Gazeron, and she makes a mini version of the prison out of dirt with the Force to show the layout. They all decide the best approach is from north or the south, because it's less guarded than the others. And before arriving, Chewie and the droids stay behind because they intercept this transmission that they have to decode from Big Z to the Night Sisters. While the others infiltrate the prison, they hijacked a harvester droid. They hide in it to avoid detection. Along this journey, they find the help of a political prisoner. There are 3,000 of them, and they were sent here by the Empire to quietly disappear, as I said before. They're dressing in Imperial and Night Sister disguises, and Han tells the prisoner they'll come back for them. And before they leave, Luke uses the Force on some of the stormtroopers they had to knock out, and making them forget what happened so they don't harm the prisoner to help them escape. And 3PO decodes this transmission, finds out that Gazeron set up a trap to capture Han and sell him to Big Z. They run into a Night Sister in the prison. Luke eases her mind with the Force and later is told by Tenniel that that was Gezeron. Luke then has a vision of Dathomir being plunged into darkness and dying, and he realizes they cannot leave this planet, they have to stay and help. Now, in the shipyard, they find a nearly completed TIE fighter and a stock light fighter that resembled the Falcon. Tenniel climbs to the top of this and looks over the shipyard and feels the Night Sisters closing in. Then 3 stand before her, force choking her, and Luke hears her scream in her mind and then yells for Han. Luke then commands him to let her go, uses the Force to free her. During this battle, Luke ends up throwing his lightsaber. As one tries to grab the hilt as it's in the air, he rotates it with the Force and kills her, which I thought was kind of epic, pretty cool. He and Tenniel continue to fight as they hear the ship start up. Luke has doubts about the idea to fly this thing while there are still missing parts, while there are Star Destroyers in orbit ready to shoot down anything that tries to get off the ground. Now, Tenniel gets pissed and starts giving into anger as Luke grabs her, tells her these witches are not Gezeron, and snaps her out of it, saving her from this temptation for the moment. And while in the ship, Luke, Leia, and Isolde get everything they need. Han runs back, tells them they have to evacuate. As they fly over this lake, the destroyers start firing, but the shields hold on long enough for them to bail out with everything they need. While on the ground, Han says he noticed something before jumping out. Big Z's men released thousands of these satellites in orbit, and they have no idea what all these are for as of yet. R2 shows them holo of Gezeron talking to a general. Big Z is giving the Night Sisters 36 hours to capture Han. Now, how R2 is getting all of these transmissions, I do not know, but he's very good at intercepting these, as in this story. Anyway, if they do not capture Han and give it to him in these 36 hours, he will not spare their lives. He will make them extinct by destroying the planet, but she says they do not value their lives and will capture Solo and serve Big Z. The general asks how they will ensure their devotion to Big Z, and she says they will give them their young children, and if the Night Sisters displease them, they may kill them. What? Then the general's like, you just said you don't value your lives. What makes us think that you will value your children's lives? And she's like, not a bad mother. So that's like, that doesn't add up. And they acknowledge in the book that it doesn't add up, but they're just like, who cares? So at this point, Han shares why Big Z wants him so bad. And apparently after destroying his Super Star Destroyer, Han personally called him up, took credit for destroying it, and told him to kiss my Wookiee, which is diabolical. I understand why he's mad. Now, Gezeron is marching through these woods with AT-STs and will reach the Singing Mountain clan by dawn. So the team has to get moving pretty fast. They rush to fix the Falcon, while Luke and the Rancors stay behind the fight, which is honestly an amazing picture in my head. Just Luke staring down a battle with his lightsaber and blaster with Rancors behind him. That is epic. Now, during this battle, Rancors are tearing down the AT-STs, though they're shot up pretty bad, and Luke is taking out the stormtroopers and faces off with a young Night Sister, and he feels her fear. So Luke force chokes her, as you do, very Jedi-like, and says, don't make me kill you. Promise me you'll leave Gezeron and her clan forever. She nods yes, so Luke lets her go, and she knocks his lightsaber out of his hand with the Force. So she lied, as you would expect. Anyway, like father, like son for Luke. He is very un-Jedi-like in this scenario. And Luke takes out his blaster, shoots her in the hand, and she moves the lightsaber from the ground and swings it at his head with the Force. Luke ends up turning off the lightsaber mid-air with the Force as well, and a Rancor comes up from behind her and kills her. And the younger Rancor is killed in this battle, and Luke is very shocked how someone so young could fall so completely to the dark side. And I think this is a good point to mention that only the Singing Mountain clan have the Rancors as pets, because they just run away from the Night Sisters because they're too mean, too cruel to them. Han meets back with the Mountain Clan sisters and they say they'll fend off the Night Sisters until Han finishes the Falcon. And they study a map of Gazeron's battlefield, and they have guard posts with one sister at every 12 points on the map, which is what Luke had just taken out. So he knows what every one of them would look like. So Luke tells them before entering this battle to only use their powers in the service of life to protect themselves and people around them. Now the Night Sisters begin their attack. A force storm spins wind and gravel chaotically around, and Luke puts on his goggles to protect his eyes, but it doesn't mention anyone else also doing this. Everyone else is just getting eyes full of sand and gravel and dust. The Rancors begin tossing boulders down the mountain, destroying walkers, and a few Night Sisters reach their balcony where Luke kills one, Ogwine pushes another off, then Luke jumps off after the rest of them. Luke then comes face to face with Gazeron, tells her to turn away from the dark side before it's too late, even though it definitely is obviously too late, and she's not going to do that. She points her finger at him, and the force slams into him. He collapses onto the ground, making him roll onto his back, gasping for air. And her doing this, she actually ripped the blood vessels in his brain with no effort whatsoever. And he lays there knowing he's about to die, and he thinks, Ben, I failed you all. At the Falcon, a Night Sister gets through, and Isolde tries to shoot her, but she knocks the blaster from his hand with the force. Then Chewie rips her arm off, and Isolde then shoots her dead. That is epic. We've heard about it happening, but it's never really happened in the story that I've read so far, that I've seen so far. So it's epic that this is finally in something, and now is an epic part of the story. So the mountain is now compromised, and dirt and smoke fill the room violently, and Isolde hears the women all around him singing, which is how the witches cast their spells. So he closes the Falcon's hatch and tells them to save themselves. Very heroic moment. So he ducks under the Falcon and runs towards the door, but a Night Sister comes through it, meeting him there. Now we go to Tenniel, who's fighting through the Night Sisters without singing, so she's now using the Force like anyone else does. And anger takes over. She kills with rage and starts throwing bodies at people and all that. And one of the singing clan members noticed that she has bursted a vessel, which now leaves a bruise under her eye, which is the mark of a Night Sister. The Night Sisters capture Isolde. He's currently unconscious, and they use the Force to make the Falcon float. And Tenniel calls for Leia to fire the engines. And right after that, she runs to grab Isolde and shields his body with her own as the Falcon's engine fire up, cooking the Night Sisters alive and burning Tenniel. Leia pilots the Falcon through the storm, which is the only thing protecting them from the Star Destroyers above detecting them. Now Han fires proton torpedoes, which somehow stops the storm and takes out some powerful Night Sisters. Don't know how that worked, but it did. Now Tenniel sees an injured Night Sister from the Falcon's exit and assures her she will not hurt her and uses the Force to heal her. So she's redeeming herself from all that chaos she did earlier. Back at the Falcon, they see many black spots on the horizon start appearing, and suddenly the sky goes black, and the only light they see is from the burning fields below. So Han lands the Falcon, and he and Leia decide to grab a med kit and go back for Isolde, rushing back, leaving Chewie on the Falcon with the droids once again. So now the battle is over. Gazeron has retreated due to the sudden blackening of the sky. Han and Leia find Isolde and Tenniel and speak to Ogwine to find out where Luke is. She tells them he's among their missing. We find out that Big Z's satellites are called an orbital night cloak, where thousands of these satellites are used to distort the light and bend it towards the satellites, making no light pass through to the planet below. Now, Big Z wants Gazeron to release Han to him now, or the night cloak will stay in place and the planet will cool, freezing and killing everyone and everything. So they strike a deal. She will give them Han, but in return he lets them travel to a New Republic star cluster of his choice in the heart of his enemy, and they will never bother him again. After watching this on a holo via R2, getting all the scoops once again, Han, Leia, and Ogwine determine that if one of the satellites is shot down, the whole system goes down. Very convenient. Now, Isolde volunteers to take his fighter and destroy it, but it would be suicide, so they don't let him. And this is where Gazeron then uses the Force to hijack Han's mind and make him watch her through her eyes as she murders innocents in the prison. While doing this, she talks to him and says she will have him meet a night sister at the bottom of the mountain, and she will bring him to her, and if he doesn't comply, she will force him to watch another 500 more die. So he decides to surrender, but brings a thermal detonator in hopes to sacrifice himself and take out a few of the witches with him. As he says goodbye, Leia realizes he is the one that she loves. Perfect timing for that. Very dramatic. And Han finds Luke on his way down the mountain, finds out he's very injured, tells him to take care of Leia, that he's in no shape to help this time, and has peasants take him back to the Falcon. Now back to Tenniel. Since she killed in anger and has this mark of the Night Sisters, she must exile and cleanse herself for 3 years before joining back at the clan. And Isolde suggests that she go to the stars or even go to Hapans as his bodyguard or advisor. And she wants more than that and is aware of his feelings towards her. And she wants the same thing. As they conduct their plan, they tell Luke he must rest, and he makes them promise to wake him up in 3 hours, and he's very adamant about this. He will not take no as an answer. In the meantime, R2 estimates that there are 40 Star Destroyers in orbit, and if they keep radio silence, then they will remain undetected. Now, Han is taken by the Night Sisters, and General Melvar is sent to retrieve him. Han notices he could take out Melvar, Gazeron, and a few other Night Sisters with his thermal detonator, so he tries to arm it. But a Night Sister has already detected it and disarmed it, which is very unlucky for him. And Gazeron kills Melvar, all the stormtroopers, and turns to Han and decides to break every bone in his body. She chokes him and starts with his leg. Han then notices the Falcon coming from a distance. So to give them time, Han suggests she break his teeth, which is not a great suggestion. Han is full of not good moves. He's kidnapping and he wants his teeth broken to give them time. Not a good move. Start with your toes, dude. That would be good thinking. Now he's in excruciating pain because his teeth are being broken. The Falcon arrives, fires at the watchtower, destroying it, causing Gazeron to drop Han and jump into the carrier that brought Melvar. She fires up the shields and guns and gets out of there. Han then crawls away slowly because he knows the Falcon's going to be firing at them. But the Falcon hovers down, and Leia and a few others help him get aboard. Now, Luke is currently flying the Falcon. He's doing a great job. Han says he's not that good, and Isolde says no one is, which is very good. He's just like Anakin, the best star pilot in the galaxy, and that I love that. Now, during this little battle here, Luke is doing the work of the pilot, the co-pilot, and the gunner all at once. So that just shows his abilities with the Force and how good he is. He's doing this with insane accuracy, and Han, Leia, Isolde, everyone is impressed. So that nap really worked out for him. Now the witches are trying to get out of there and jump to hyperspace while Luke is on their tail and uses the radio, which alerts their location to Big Z's men, and they bombard the carrier out of the sky. Now after this, Luke randomly fires off into the sky, and people are like, what are you doing, dude? He ends up destroying the Night Cloak. Now that the Night Cloak is destroyed, they see X-Wings, TIE Fighters, and hundreds of cruisers, both Hapan and Big Z's men, all in battle together. So now Han sees Big Z's flagship, and he decides to take control of the Falcon, fly under his shields. Then he calls up Big Z again, tells him to kiss my Wookiee, just like earlier in the story. He tells us that's why he hates him so bad. Then he fires concussion missiles, which disintegrates the top half of its forward command center, disabling the shields. Then it is immediately destroyed by the Hapans. So Han got the final word in this, and that is epic how that came back in a great way. After this, Leia says to him that he won the 7-day bet and kisses him from earlier when he was like 7 days on Dathomir. Well, it's been less than 7 days, and he won this bet. And as she kisses him, Isolde watches and feels happy for them. So he's really not a bad guy after all. He's really grown on me as this story has gone on. He's developed as a character so much, and I really misjudged him. I think really Luke and being around these guys have really like made him a better person from when we first saw him. I'm very happy. that this guy is awesome. I love his character. I hated him at first, but now I'm loving him. Speaking of earlier in the story, I didn't mention this, but I'll mention it now. When Isolde and Luke arrived to Dathomir, they arrived on a Hapan cruiser, and once they got into their fighters, and they're going down onto the planet. Isolde contacted his bodyguard, told them to leave and then come back in a few days. And so the bodyguard did just that. So now he's in command of the Happen cruiser. So now in present day, Isolde contacts him, urges him to contact the Dathomiri locals and the political prisoners and give them the opportunity to leave this planet. The following day, they have a feast with the Singing Mountain Clan sisters, and they offer him all that he asked for in return for the planet deed. And he says he doesn't really want all that stuff. He has all he needs, and he looks at Leia, but Leia's like, dude, take it all. We can pay for the wedding with that stuff. So she's turned into a real one. She's come around as well. Isolde announces that he's going to be marrying Tenniel, and his mother, who's now there, is very upset by this. Luke stands up for them and demands she tell them who was really behind Leia's assassination attempt. And in a sort of like Scooby-Doo ending scenario, she confesses and explains Leia is a pacifist and she was too weak to rule, which is it's untrue. Leia is definitely not a pacifist. She is constantly murdering folks. And she fired up the Falcon earlier in the story and cooked so many Night Sisters. I don't know where she's getting that. Definitely not true. After an argument with Isolde and his mother, Tenniel tells the queen that she will soon rule over her worlds, and she is no pacifist. If the queen tries to harm her, she will force her to publicly confess for her crimes, then she will kill her. Tenniel ain't to be messed with, for sure. So the queen accepts this, and Isolde tells her that they will be joining the New Republic immediately, which goes along with this Scooby-Doo ending that we're having right here, but I love it. It's okay, it's cool. And Luke finally speaks to Ogwine about the old Jedi ship that he found earlier in the story. He'd like to see if there's any records still intact, and Mother Real confirms that all the Night Sisters are dead. As Yoda foretold, when the Night Sisters are gone, their world would end and a new one would begin, which is exactly what's happening here, just not in a catastrophic way. It is all a good way, with help from Luke, Leia, Han, Isolde, Tenniel, all of them. And all that happens. Mother Real tells Luke that they wanted the records, but the Jedi wouldn't give them the technology needed to read them, as the teachings were too powerful as long as the Night Sisters were still there. Too dangerous for the galaxy, I guess. So they give Luke these discs, and he finds out that they have more information than one person could hope to study in their whole life. And Isolde suggests that Han and Leia take their honeymoon on a tour of the Hapans star cluster. Then Luke takes Tenniel's hand, tells her that she will give birth to a daughter first, and perhaps she will send her to be trained by him. Which, did he know that the whole time? Is that why he stayed away? Or is it because she freaked him out? Now, fast forward to the wedding. 3PO finds out that Han is not royalty. His grandfather, Carol Solo, pretended to hold the throne and was hanged for his crimes, which is probably why Han was embarrassed by 3PO announcing this to everyone in the beginning of the story. And 3PO is demanding that the wedding be canceled, and Luke just shuts him off. Now, Luke arrives at the wedding late and the best man, which Leia doesn't seem to mind at all. The book says nothing about Mon Mothma ordaining like she said she did in Dark Empire, so I'm just going to take that as she's a liar and she sucks because I'm not a fan of Mon Mothma, and this gives me another reason not to like her. And so the book's over. This is honestly one of the best books I've read so far in this journey of the expanded universe. I love Dathomir. I love the witches. Like, it was such a cool dynamic between the Singing Mountain Clan and the Night Sisters. I thought they were all going to be Night Sisters, so that was a wonderful surprise. It's nice having like a light and dark on this planet full of darkness. And it's great that at the end of the book it's all, happy and all that, and now they can either be trained by Luke or they can just live on their own and practice their magic in their own ways and however they choose. And yeah, I wonder if in the future the witches will come back, and if there'll be like a resurgence of Night Sisters because of these Singing Mountain witches that fall to the dark side or something. Luke and the Jedi have to deal with that. That would be interesting. I don't want to know. So if that happens, don't tell me. I want to figure that out for myself because I have no idea. I even love that I sold her Leia and Han love triangle, though in the beginning it got me pretty heated and angry at Leia for not being loyal, as you could see earlier in the video. But it had a great payoff at the end, and it just came together pretty nicely, in my opinion. And probably my favorite part of this book was the world building. It felt real, and the galaxy felt like huge, like with the hyperspace travel times, the taking the shortcuts through risky hyperspace routes. It was definitely one of my favorites so far. It felt like it belonged in the original trilogy. It felt like something that would precede it afterwards, with a lot of, silly moments with the love triangle. But if you overlook that silliness and stuff, this is a really good story. So yeah, this book introduces me at least to the Hapans, and I thought they're incredible. Their backstory is great. I love the lore, the Viking references and all that, and it was really good at fleshing them out. Love that backstory. Love that lore. And I hope that Tenniel and Isolde come back soon because I love their characters. Again, don't tell me anything about that if they come back. Don't want to know. I want to experience for myself and give you guys like a good reaction if something happens. But yeah, I want to see more Dathomir. I want to see more of the Hapans. I want to go to Hapes. I think it would be cool to have a story on Hapes, so I want to go to Hapes. I want to know what that's about. Like we basically just heard of glimpses of it, and I want to hear more. I want to go have more stories with Tenniel and Isolde because they're pretty good characters. I want to see more of them. And yeah, like Luke fighting with the Rancors was epic. I love that. I never thought that that would happen. But yeah, so like, again, please don't spoil any of that. I want to experience that for myself and give you guys like a genuine reaction and stuff like that. Especially if anything that I don't know of is huge. Don't want to know about it. I do know some spoilers ahead for like New Jedi Order, stuff like that. But as they come, I'll disclose, hey, I knew that was happening, or hey, I was told about that. I heard about that. Saw that on Wikipedia or something like that, a YouTube video. But yeah, I'm going to rank this book an A because I loved it. It was great from beginning to end, even though I was a little heated in the beginning with another like alien thing, and I'm still gonna call him an alien. Next, I'm gonna go to Tatooine Ghost because I saw that it takes place like 8 months after this. I don't know if there's gonna be like a tie-in to this book and that one because it's like so close together. So I'm gonna read that one. So, peace.